Okay. I'm Hannah, and I'm here today with Rhonda Dickson. Is that right? How you say that?
That's right. Yep.
Dickson, great. Rhonda, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, a uh, I am a colored pencil artist, and I've been doing colored pencil art since late 2014.
Okay.
And uh, for my day job, I am a freelance graphic artist and writer and photographer, and my current job that I'm doing is I'm the editor-in-chief of Color Magazine, Ann Kullberg's Color Magazine, which is a colored pencil, the oldest magazine for colored pencil artists
Wow.
in the country and the world, actually. So it's a fun job.
Yeah, how long have you been doing that job?
For about 2.5 years.
Okay, so not too long, but you kind of have
No,
it sounds like you kind of have your hands in a lot of different pots.
I kind of do, yeah.
Yeah, that's really
Keep,
great.
keeps life interesting.
Definitely. Keeps you on your toes and keeps your brain moving, right?
That's right. That's right.
That's fantastic. So this is her piece, Rain Dance. Again, colored pencil. Our whole show is kind of a mixture of colored pencil artists, whether or not you're using different materials or just solely colored pencil and on different like substrates and papers and such, right? What was Rain Dance done on?
This was done on drafting film, which is a really kind of a popular up and coming medium in maybe I wouldn't even say it's up and coming. It's become a very popular medium in colored pencil circles because as opposed to paper, it's very erasable. You can work on both sides. You can get some really intense color, and the surface takes pencil very, very well.
Yeah, I had just recently started messing around with the film. I had a friend of mine gave me a few pieces, but it's a very interesting. It's definitely different than using paper.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's not like acrylic. It's not like a clear plastic. I mean, when you try to think about putting pencil on clear plastic, it just doesn't adhere. But graphic drafting film has kind of a surface texture that takes the pencils very well.
Yeah, it's very interesting. Well, we'll start with this. How did you get interested in and start making art?
Oh, well, when I was like a lot of people, I made art when I was a kid, and then it just kind of, I did a little bit of cartooning in my 20s and 30s, but I always thought that fine art was something that, making fine art was something that you needed to go to school for, that you needed to have a degree and you needed to study the color wheel and you needed to like live in a loft somewhere and be, you know, uh, and have a tragic life,
Yeah.
And so one day it was late 2014, I was in California, and I was spending some time with my mom and my mom and a friend and I were looking for something to do one night. And so we went to a paint and sip where you drink a little wine, paint a little picture.
Oh, yeah.
And so as we're drinking a little wine, painting a little picture, I looked at my little picture, which was sunflowers. It was a pretty little picture, but I all of a sudden I realized, what, I don't need a degree to do this kind of stuff. I mean, I could sell this maybe. I mean, somebody might be dumb enough to buy it.
What a revelation, though, right?
It was a total revelation, and it was like something inside just went bam, and so when I got home, I bought myself some acrylic paints, and I got some paper that would work with acrylic, and I got myself all set up in the kitchen. I put newspaper down and drop cloth, and I was ready to go, man. And I sat there at the kitchen table trying to think of what I was going to do, and it just didn't work. It didn't feel right. It was like I didn't have a project, and I was like this, my balloon just totally deflated.
Oh, yeah.
So I found few weeks later, maybe a month later, I found an old full set of barrel Prismacolor pencils in an art cabinet that I had. And so I thought, let me just play with these. So I went into the kitchen and got an orange and an apple, and I went out to the coffee table into the living room, and I put those down. And I thought, I'm just going to try to draw these. And so time kind of disappeared. You know how that happens in make art? Time kind of just, and when I was done, it was like, oh my God, this looks like an apple, and that looks like an orange. And I was
So
like,
satisfying.
that was it. That was it. And I just have been going like 150 miles per hour with colored pencil ever since.
That's fantastic. So it's a little more recent for you then.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've
Yeah.
noticed a few other people having conversations just have been picking up colored pencil in their later years, like in the past 10, 15 years, not starting out with it necessarily, kind of
Yeah.
starting out with different mediums or different like creative outlets and then coming to colored pencil.
Yeah. A lot of people start out, a lot of people that I know have started out like in watercolor.
Okay.
And they might then combine the mediums, and then they kind of just get, there's something about colored pencil, it just kind of hooks you. I don't know how to describe it, but it just really does. It's a different kind of way of working. It's very slow.
Yeah.
And the cool thing about working colored pencil is you kind of get into a zone where you're just, well, that's true of any art, anything, any creative pursuit that people have. I think they get into a zone and just get lost.
Yeah, and that's the most beautiful part of it too, because when you finish that piece, like that's your heart, right? Your heart and soul is sitting there because you know that time and that effort and all of that energy you put into it.
Yeah.
Really
that's
beautiful.
Why I think that's what makes art so personal for artists, is because they have that, they have their art, they have their heart, they have their time invested.
Yeah, exactly. It's just a multitude of things that kind of go into it.
Mm-hmm.
What inspires your art?
I really am. I like to take photographs, and nature really inspires my art a lot. I will just go, like last year on my birthday, my gift to myself was a day just in my car out driving, taking photos.
Okay, I love that.
And so when I'm ready to do a piece, I'll look through some of my photos and decide what sparks my interest, and that's what I'll work on.
That's fantastic. Do you have, let's see, how do I want to phrase this? So you said you've done a lot of work in journalism, right? Has photography and journalism ever aligned for you, or has it always been writing for that?
No, I've worked at my career prior to moving into freelancing, which I did about 10 or 12 years ago. I worked at local newspapers. And when you work at a local newspaper, you do a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
Including taking out the trash and photos. And some of my fondest memories actually are from days when we would have floods and around here in the Northwest. And the whole staff would be scrambling to take photos and talk to people. And it was times when communities really pulled together. It was kind of, it sounds odd, but it was kind of fun. It was, anyway.
It's being a part of that energy, right? There's something to that like just community energy is really powerful, especially in a crisis situation. I feel like it's like that hive mind. It kind of just starts going into each other, right? As you're there.
Right. Yeah. But anyway, circling back, that's how, yes, I've definitely used photography as part of my work.
Yeah. And so would you say that photography is kind of part of your artistic process then?
Absolutely. And I would say that it's I hate to make generalizations, but I think for a lot of artists, it should be, whether or not you work from photographs, I think the art of photography is something very good to cultivate, because it teaches you how to look at things. Yeah. It teaches you how to focus and how to compose. And so when you're not drawing, if you're taking photos or looking at the world in a way, the way a photographer would, I think it really improves your art.
Yeah, I definitely agree. There's something to, even we do custom framing here. And so whenever an individual is having a hard time visualizing, I say, take a picture with your phone and then look at that, because it's through a lens, right? And it sounds kind of cliche, but it's through something, you're looking through someone else's eyes or something else's eyes, and it does change it for you.
Yeah.
And the amount of high quality photographs you can get from phones nowadays, it's so easy to just kind of start collecting, right? Even if you don't have the access to a nicer camera.
Right. Yeah. I really think you don't need it. Phone is all you need. In fact, I spent I am known for posting a photo a day on my Facebook page. And 2 years ago, I think it was, I decided to limit myself to only phone photography for
Love
a
it.
year. And
Yeah.
it's great.
It's fantastic. Well, you can do all of your editing too. I mean, most phones come with some sort of editing program
Sure.
you can
Yeah.
do with that.
Yeah.
That's great. What aspects of your background make your art unique?
That's an interesting question, and I'm not sure how to answer that. I guess what I would say was, when I was a kid and I liked to draw, I liked to do cartoons. And so um, one of the things that I seem to have brought with me to colored pencil is wanting to put outlines around things. And I fought that for a long time until, because colored pencil artists are really known for doing very photorealistic work. That is the primary like genre in colored pencil, or
Yeah.
a primary genre, and I just like that wasn't working for me. And I it all for me it all kind of came to a head one day when I was showing a portfolio of my work to a very well-known colored pencil artist, very successful artist. And I said, I kind of half apologized, saying, I know I got these, I got these lines around things
Yeah.
like they're cartoons, but I'm working really hard to get photorealistic. And she just like stopped me and she said,
Why?
yeah, exactly. And so she said, she said, you have a very distinctive style, and artists work very hard to come up with a distinctive style, and you got it right out of the chute. Why would you want to change that?
Yeah.
So that kind of like, it was like almost being given permission it was okay to make art in my way that I felt like I wanted to.
Exactly.
And that was a game changer for me.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's so interesting because you get people, that's why these interviews are so great, because you get people from these different backgrounds and these different things that have inspired them over the years to create. And it does, you're right, it does give you that unique style. And I'm going to pull up, this is a perfect segue into pulling up your piece, Rain Dance. So we can talk about that a little bit closer. Sure. See if we can get it up here. Just a beautiful piece. I noticed, I think specifically what stood out to me was the outlines. I myself am kind of a cartoon person. I like that look of things that are really, really crisp, defined lines. I think that's what stuck out to me about this piece, was that you not only mimicked like the puddle of water or the rain on the water, but you also like highlighted it in a very dramatic way. And I really enjoyed that. Could you tell me a little bit about the process for this piece?
Well, basically this was from a photograph of a pool of water in Hawaii. And what I did with this piece, and what I do with a lot of my pieces, is I work from a photograph, I create a line drawing, and then instead of covering or erasing or getting rid of the lines for the line drawing as I work, I emphasize those with the dark color.
Okay. Yeah, you can definitely tell. So do you work from dark to light then in your pieces?
No, colored pencil, you have to work from light to dark, because
okay.
you can't, erasing is problematic, especially if you're working on paper, because you can't completely erase a color.
Yeah.
You have to preserve your whites from the get-go. So you work from light to dark.
Okay, but you do end up outlining your pieces in that dark color though.
Yeah, and that's the last thing I do is.
Oh, it's the last thing. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, so what was it about this puddle that spoke to you?
It was so dramatic. It was the sun just bright, against the water, and it was like, it was something I hadn't really ever really noticed before, and it was very dramatic.
Yeah.
And I wanted to. It was like the juxtaposition of the sun and the water, the heat and the water. I don't know. It just really appealed to me, and I wanted to share that.
Well, it's very pleasing to look at. It's got this great kind of structure to it. I was noticing as I was setting up here with the piece in the background, I was trying to kind of get rid of those lights kind of reflecting down into it. And this itself, for a moment I was like, why is there a light right in the middle of that? Wait a second. And I turn around, it's like, oh no, that's the piece. But this one was a great example of creating those lights and darks, and really, like, you know what it is. You know that, like, these are the dark parts of the water. This is that reflection of the sun. That's very clear and crisp. And your other piece that we have in the show, Desert King, right? One of my favorites. I love that kind of, it has like a glow to it. And everybody that doesn't know what I'm talking about, you have to come in to see Desert King. The show will be up until October 3rd, but it is a beautiful piece. It just has that kind of glowing effect. I think that, I don't know if all of your pieces have it, but the two that you brought for the show really do.
That's kind of one of the things that my work is known for. You gave me a really good segue. Can I just have a few minutes? I want to share something with you, because you mentioned Tsuga, and Tsuga has a really, I have a really fond spot in my heart for Tsuga. It's got an important place in my art story, in my journey, and I want to share that.
Please do.
And I mentioned before that I started in colored pencil in late 2014. Is actually late 2014, early 2015. Back in May of 2015, a friend of mine told me that there was going to be a show of colored pencil at the Tsuga Art Gallery in Bothell. And she said, I think she saw a notice for it in the local paper. And I thought that would be kind of cool to see, because I'd never seen real colored pencil art before, in person. And so we decided to plan lunch and a day, to go after lunch, we go see all the artwork in Tsuga. So we had lunch, and then we went in Tsuga, and I saw the work from the Colored Pencil Society artists on the walls there, and it just blew my mind. I'd never seen work like that before. I wandered around that gallery for, I must have made 5 circulations around, looking at everything, just totally blown away. And I remember thinking at the time that, I decided, I think it was then that I decided that my goal was going to be that I could get good enough in colored pencil to someday be in a show with these artists, maybe at some place like Tsuga.
Yeah.
And 5 years later, here I am.
Boom, it happened for you.
Yeah.
Is that just, that has to be just so near and dear and satisfying to your heart.
It's amazing to me.
Yeah.
Just and I can't tell you how gratified I am to not only be, I'm a member of this group now, that this colored pencil group that is on display at Tsuga. I'm on the walls in Tsuga, and you've chosen to talk to me about one of my pieces, and that's just, I can't even tell you how wonderful that is.
Fantastic. Well, we definitely have enjoyed having you up on the wall and chatting with you here. I think this is a great place to stop and wrap up. So thank you so much, Rhonda, for coming in and chatting with me a little bit about your piece.
It's been my pleasure. Thank you so much.
Of course. And again, like I mentioned before, the show is up until October 3rd. So if you haven't seen it, come on in. If you can't see it, you can also check out our website, tsugafineart.com. Thank you.
Thank you.